Welcome to the Magna AI podcast, where we sit down with principals, district leaders, and instructional innovators who are reshaping what's possible in the classroom with a little help from AI. Together, we explore how school leaders are using smart tools and bold ideas to support teachers, personalize learning, and improve outcomes for every student. Today, we have with us Dr. Melinda Stone, who's serving as principal of James E. Taylor High School in Katy ISD district in Texas. Um, at Katy, Dr. Stone leads a campus of approximately 3,000 students with a 16 to 1 student teacher ratio. And under their leadership, the high school has performed very successfully, maintaining a 93% graduation rate, 80% AP exam pass rate, and so on. So we're really excited to have Dr. Stone here, and welcome, Dr. Stone.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. So today, I would love to talk to you about your experience in the like leading the school, and then also the teachers and everything that encompasses comes with this school and so on. So, would you be able to talk about your strength-based leadership philosophy? In one of your recent podcasts, you mentioned how strength-based leadership changed the way teachers respond to feedback and professional development. So would love to hear about that.
Sure. Um, w- I do believe in strengths-based leadership in terms of matching people with the right job in the right, area, pushing them towards, whatever that looks like for them. Right. So we do strength finders, and I have all of my teachers and administrators take that knew that on board what it really does is it helps us to understand ourselves as people and as leaders and how to interact with each other, right? And so a lot of the idea is that a lot of the conflict that comes with just being on a team and having different ideas and that I don't want to disrupt this, or I don't want to make her mad, or I don't want to make him mad, or whatever that dynamic looks like. When they understand each other a little bit better and understand how they operate and how they think, you know how to approach somebody. So, um, I firmly believe you have to approach each person in a different manner because you just do. Everybody's different, right? So the way I explain something to you, or I, have a conversation with you, is going to be different than somebody else. But that comes with knowing your people, right? And knowing what their strengths are, what their basements are. And so it's been really good. And the faculty has been really on board with it. I think they're more comfortable in their skin because it's almost like, the things that they, are self-conscious about, or they have, "Oh, I know I do this, but I don't know." Almost has a definition. It's like a diagnosis, right? We've diagnosed you, and this is personalities like, this is how you lead, this is how you do those things. And so, it becomes you can become more vulnerable with people because you know what you're like, and people identify with that, and they know, oh, hey, you don't have really any relationship skills in your top 5, and that's why you seem kind of standoffish. I'm not going to take that personally because that's just how you are, right? And so what it does is it kind of tears down the walls of people, and how to relate with each other without being so, you know, just confrontational or not wanting to have difficult conversations. My top 5, my number 1 strength is competition. And so I want to be better than all the other schools. And so that's what drives me, and that's how I lead. And so it helped me as a leader as well understand why I was a good leader or why I wasn't a good leader. Um, you know, my number 2 strength is futuristic. I got lots of ideas, but my execution of those, like, I've got lots of ideas, but it's hard to execute all those ideas. So I've got to build people around me that are good executors, that are able to take those ideas and take them forward. So it's really helped. What it's done is it really has helped our campus be a little bit more vulnerable with each other and not take everything so seriously, and um, know that we all make mistakes. We all have our faults. It's okay. We're human. That's going to happen. But how do we recover from that? How can we understand each other? And so it makes it a good place to work and a good place to be, because we do have that openness and that honesty going on.
Makes sense. Is there a specific example that stands out to you where you saw like this strength-based leadership really made a difference in the leadership style of a teacher or somebody that you know, and made some breakthrough uh, developments?
Yes. So I will give you the example of my leadership team. Well, my administrators, my APs. I have 7 of them, and there are some that are really good with instruction, and there are some that are not as strong with instruction. Could they do it? Sure, but it's not their strength. It's not their wheelhouse. And so, for example, one of my APs, his number one strength is woo. He can get everybody loves him. They love him, and he can get the crowd going. He can make rel relationships with kids, with parents. Everybody loves him. Instructionally, not his super strong point, not his focus. Okay. And so, how do I leverage that as a leader to make sure that he's successful in what he does, right? And and uh and doesn't fail, or doesn't feel uncomfortable. I think in education, or at least for us, we're always like, you have to be a really strong instructional leader. You have to be this, you have to be that. And as I've gotten more experience, I don't know that that's necessarily exactly the case. Yes, you have to know about instruction, but do you need to be in the forefront and be able to lead a district in instruction? No, you really don't. And the amount of things that are on our plate as assistant principals just keeps mounting up, mounting up, mounting up with safety and security, and having to report bullying, and having to all these things that didn't happen like even 6 7 years ago. It's piling on. So with him, and with my grade level APs that deal with discipline, uh, I want them to manage students. I want them to manage students and manage the teachers with students. And so I took a little bit of the instruction off their plate. They still have some of it because they need to know and be in the fold. But I took one of what would be another grade level assistant principal and made that the curriculum and instruction assistant principal, because that person had the skill set to do that. They had the skill set to do the management of the students as well, but this is a little bit different because now we can focus on our instructional piece, on our collaborative teams as a PLC. What are we doing? Looking at data. Those are the things that our APs don't have time to do. So it was part of a management piece, but it's also a strength-based piece. I don't want there are some people that are really good at getting out there and talking in a crowd, some are not. And so I will assign roles and duties based on that. I did that with my department chairs, so with my teachers, looking at how they lead and how they have relationships. One of the big thing for department chairs is relationships with their department. And that almost supersedes their knowledge of instruction in some way. But there's always growth that can happen. That's the thing. To me, I feel like if you have the right attitude, the right heart, the right minerals, to be able to do and lead, I can teach you anything, but it's hard to teach the opposite of how to get along with people and how to understand each other, and be kind to each other, and understand where that we're all from different backgrounds and we have to approach those things. So with our department chairs, really seen a great change. Our department chairs are phenomenal now. They've grown a lot, and those were based on their strengths. So they're great leaders for the departments.
I think you touched upon how you've been doing this strength-based leadership very successfully. Can you talk a little bit about what was the biggest shift that you had to make as a leader when you moved from like a deficit-based focused style to more of a strength-based style?
I think it comes down to trust, right? When you start to do something that's new, um, people are like, "What is she doing? I don't, this is goofy or this is hokey or this is whatever." But I had, my curriculum and instruction principal made it a point to put something weekly in our communication about highlighting a different strength, each week throughout the year, and that helped people get to know uh, each strength. And he would take, because we have a spreadsheet of everybody and their strengths. He would put out if the strength was, say, positivity. He would look and go and look at all the people that have their number one strength is positivity. And he would put that out in the message. This is what positivity is. And here are all the people on our campus that their number one strength is positivity. And here's how you can relate to this person. So it was almost death by a thousand cuts, uh, just putting it out there, not just dropping something on the plate and then moving away from it immediately, and so it really takes the trust. And we didn't really start doing this. This is my 6th year here at Taylor. We didn't start really doing this big time. I did it with my leadership team. So I started off small, and then we were like, everybody was kind of having some conflict, and we're like, how do we manage this? And I'm like, I think we should do some strength finders with everyone. And that way they can relate. We can do some trainings, and we did trainings before school. So it was about 3 or 4 years ago that we really started to do that. By that time, they knew me, they knew my leadership style. If you ask any of my staff members, they'll tell you that I'm competitive. They know that about me. They know how I operate, which I think is really important as well. But rolling that out, it takes trust and it takes commitment and consistency in how you communicate that. Even from year to year, what's our onboarding process for new teachers that come to our campus? How do we show them this is part of our culture and this is part of what we do? So it has to be very intentional in that way.
Yeah, that's so true. Like you can introduce something, but it without trust, um, if people don't embrace it and then they make it their own, it's really difficult for these things to spread. So that was like a wonderful example that you
Yes.
shared. Let's talk about a little bit about the assessment and feedback systems at scale. And what I was seeing was like at Katy ISD, the district level assessments are designed as diagnostic tools rather than high stake measures.
Right.
How does positioning assessments this way change the teacher behavior and also for students? How does it reduce assessment anxiety?
I would be interested to see, as far as assessment anxiety. That's not something that we probably have measured so much, but I think most of our kids being, if they've been in Katy, really anywhere in Texas, they're going to be used to taking several tests. So with those district level assessments, they've changed a little bit over the years, because some of them were given before some of our TEKs were taught, which is our scope and sequence and what we're required to teach. And so it was invalid data. When you test somebody on something that they haven't even been taught yet, how are we supposed to manage that, or how are we supposed to tell if they were successful or not? We'd have to go to each individual TEK that was taught and on those tests, and then go from there. But that's a lot of work, and teachers, as you know, are very short on time. Time is very short for them, and so they wound up changing in our district. Uh, that a little bit to match where they were at the time. So they've done a good job with that. And what we've seen is some growth with us, but the assessments are only as the assessments inform us of our instruction. Okay. So if they're doing really well, like we've seen in our KLAs, they're called, um, growth with all our tested subjects. So the state tests, English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, US history, and biology. And in those, in the last 3 years, we've seen it soar. But like with geometry, it's been stagnant. So we know that our collaborative teams and backwards design, building the test first, building and DOKing, depth of knowledge on each one of those tests, are they rigorous enough to say, oh, we've got to push them a little bit more year from year? Well, what that tells me is that our non-tested subjects are like, you know, we're good enough, we're doing this, but for me as a competitive person, I want them to keep going, keep going up. Let's shoot for the stars, right? And so those assessments really drive our instruction and our collaborative teams and our professional learning community as a whole, as a school. So really, it's a diagnosis of how we're reaching those kids, and that's how we use them on our campus. And really, our district is supposed to use them. Other schools. We've got 10 high schools in our district, so but that's how we use them. And then what do we do when the kid is not growing? How do we intervene? So it really drives everything that we do to help kids grow and get the knowledge that they need, not just to score well on a test so they can say we're an A school, but for that kid themselves to grow in confidence and be prepared for whatever they're going to do after high school.
So, when you do these assessments, obviously teachers have data that they can actually act upon. So, what does this effective feedback look like in your classrooms, and what systems help teachers deliver it consistently across all departments?
So there's several ways that they do that with the effective feedback and it's not just our district level assessments, but it really comes quite often because they give common formative assessments and they give common summative assessments, especially in all the tested subjects. So we've really streamlined a lot of things in terms of, um, showing them ways to use AI to help with that, showing them ways digitally. We use Canvas as a learning platform to supplement their face to face teaching. How do you go in and use SpeedGrader? How do you verbally give them? We use OneNote a lot, and so you can just record and give them their feedback. I know our fine arts departments do that a lot. Um, but it's always something that we're still working on because some of our teams not great at it. Some of our teams are really good at it. And so that's kind of a goal that we have from year to year, especially in the last couple of years, in using technology in order to provide that feedback. Some teachers are above and beyond in that they will make they have the students keep their own like kind of table of their teaks and how they're doing. And so it's a conversation that they'll have individually with each kid. It's very individualized, which is hard to do when you have 150 students. But there's a lot of teams that get that done, and the kids feel more they have more ownership in what they're doing. Even the most reluctant kid is gonna have more ownership in wanting to try harder because they're investing in themselves as well as the teacher. And so it's been a really good shift, and that's really happened over the last 2 or 3 years. We went through a thing called PLC Academy where we really focused on the common formative assessments and how we reteach and how we assess our kids and how can we give that feedback, effective feedback quickly for them to learn what they didn't learn, or get better at what they already know. So it's been a struggle. But we are halfway there, and that continues to be our goal from year to year until we get 100% of our teachers and our teams doing that. It's tough, but it's doable for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think on these lines, would love to hear how do you support your teachers balancing the need to give meaningful feedback to, as you said, like 150 kids, without it becoming a significant time drain for them.
Well, I always encourage, there are some people that do not like using AI tools, for help with effective feedback. Some of our kids, they know when the feedback has been quote unquote AI'd, right? And so I always encourage them to use those tools, but to be mindful of your voice. Like it can be used to help you come up with ideas and things like that. Um, it's a lot quicker when you do it with AI, but it's still your thoughts. If you speak it into, AI, most AI systems have, a talk to text, or whatever, and you can just say what you really think about it, and then have it come up with you know a more well written thing. It that cuts down some of the time, but to just put it in there and say, here's the feedback, and then put it there without really synthesizing it as a teacher, it becomes impersonal. And so you have to find the balance between those two. I've got teachers that use it constantly and they use it in the right way. I've got some that are using it probably relying on it too much. And then I've got some that are like, I don't believe in using AI to help me do anything. I mean, that's your choice. That's fine. It's not a problem. But for those of you that are really struggling, AI can really help you streamline whether it's grading or whether it's just your productivity, period. There's going to be some time saved with it if you learn to use it in the right way.
Yeah, that's great to hear, especially because these tools have actually improved quite a lot over the last couple of years. So
Oh, in the last few months, they've improved significantly. It's crazy how fast it's just getting better and better. It's weird.
great. So, given your background in instructional technology, um, what criteria do you use to evaluate? And I think this is a great segue, and based on our discussion, what criteria do you use to evaluate whether a new tool actually improves teaching or is adding to the workload?
We try really hard not to, we give teachers options. Okay. So, we, because I'm very technology driven, technology focused, that helps everybody else become technology focused. Even the ones that were most reluctant are using some of the tools. I will never require them to use, you know, OneNote or gizmos or whatever that looks like. But I do feel strongly. In fact, I just sent out a survey in preparation for August about different technologies and different apps or tools or understandings. I think you have to really understand some basics about technology to not feel overwhelmed with that, right? And so I think showing them what's available, what the possibilities are, what can be done. We've done that for the last 2 years, and we've never really forced anyone to do it. The pressure really comes from our own teachers. So if you've got a teacher on a team that's like, I really want to try this, and they're successful with it, then the other teachers go, oh, okay, that really worked. Maybe I will try it. So it has to come organically from the people that are doing the actual work instead of me going, "Hey, you really need to use, Plickers on this one. You really need to use this. You really need to use that." They may take that and run with it, but they're like, I don't even know what that is. I can't even imagine what to do." But once they start down that road, most people see the value in using some technology for instruction and for productivity. But it's been a process, and I will say that our campus is probably further along than a lot more campuses because I drive that, but it's never a requirement. I ask my teachers, try this, try that. Are they going to, is it going to be successful? Report back to me. Because again, the best advocates for those types of tools and things are other teachers, their peers that are going to be able to say, this really worked for me. And so it's really it's more qualitative than quantitative when it comes to that, because it's hard. There's so many variables in a student's performance. Is it they had a great day that day? Is it their home life? Is it, were they tired? Were they up all night? Do they like this course? Does technology work for them? Does it not? So there's so many variables. I like it when a teacher goes, the kids were engaged. That is a big measurement of whether something in technology is working or not. It's all about the engagement, and that kids report, hey, I'm really learning something in this.
So you talked about a couple of tools, right? The Canvas as well as SpeedGrader and so on. Are there any like technology adoption that you felt it exceeded expectations, and what made that a success?
So, one of the things that, because technology has exploded over the last this is my 28th year. I remember my first year, we had one Apple IIe computer in every 3 classrooms. And then the next year, we had one PC in every classroom. We thought, this is crazy, and that was 28 years ago, which is not that long ago. I mean, it is a long time, but it's not that long ago. It's not like the early 1900s. But now technology has exploded. And with that explosion, it makes it difficult for training of every single little nuance and change that has happened because it's just so fast. And so, unless you're technology savvy and unless you go out and seek knowledge for that, you're going to feel completely overwhelmed with those types of things. So, I introduce small things. One of the things that since COVID that has been really good is we use Microsoft. Uh, we're in the Microsoft ecosystem, and so we use Teams to communicate and to share uh, folders and files, and we use it for special education, which has been a game changer because we can add teachers to a private chat of that kid and take them out. And so you never lose any of that information ever, because when somebody would leave, you have it in a folder, they leave, they shut down your access, and then it's gone forever, right? With Teams, you can add people, take away people long after I'm gone, right? And they still have all the information that's there. And so when I first got here, I used it just with admin, and then I used it with leadership, and then I rolled it out campus wide. And so now we use Teams as a communication tool for all kinds of ways that have saved incredible amounts of time in terms of student trips. We have a channel for that where all our rosters go in there. So if you need to look at something, you go to that channel and you go, was Johnny on this trip? I can go right there instead of searching through a million emails or searching for folders that you have no idea where they're at. And then one of the other things that we did, that we were a super early adopter, that I don't think anybody still is doing, is using the approvals through Teams for um, field trips and purchase orders and things that it would have to go, come bring it down. I'll sign it. I got to send it to the administration building. They'll sign it. They send it back. And then we finally get, approval for whatever it is. Well, now it's just a simple, I click on it. I created it. They approve. I approve it. Then it goes to my boss. They approve it. It comes back and it's done in 2 seconds, and you don't have to waste time coming down and bringing it. It's all done electronically. It saves enormous amounts of time for myself, not only myself, but the teachers as well. And so once they got that process, it's second nature. Like nobody thinks anything of it. And it's just about that consistency and trust. And look, this is going to work. And I always say, if something doesn't work, we're not going to continue to do it. We're just not. That's crazy to continue to do something that's not working. But if it works, it might work, and that particular piece has. So that's been a big change in our campus, um, a big change in our campus over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's amazing when some things just work and just get so much delight through it and so on.
Yes, yes.
Uh, Great. So now let's talk a little bit about it's AP season. So I think we should talk a little bit about it. So with the 35% AP enrollment at Taylor, which is actually well above national averages, how intentionally are you expanding access to advanced coursework for historically underrepresented students?
We use AP Potential a lot. There's a report that gives us those types of reports. So we'll look and see kids that are not typically from certain demographics taking the advanced courses. We look at and we will have a conversation with them and say, hey, we really think you need to try this course. We'll talk to parents. We also use our state testing scores. If they scored masters, like from 8th grade coming into 9th grade, if they score masters, which is the highest on their math, social studies, science, English, we'll say, hey, you really need to try this, pre-AP course or advanced level course, or go into AP. So we really look at that to try and encourage them, and most of them can do it. I mean, it takes a different mindset because they typically aren't used to the rigor or the fact that, somebody paid attention to me and that I can actually do this. And so that builds confidence in them. So we really look at those reports to try and say, hey, we're putting you in this course. And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We go back to the academic course, but we really try to push them based on their AP potential and their EOC scores for state testing.
Cool. So can you think of a story where you saw a student with who you didn't think or expect that they would be pursuing AP coursework, but they did and they really thrived in it?
So when I was at the junior high, when I was a principal at the junior high, I used to tell sixth grade parents all the time, this is the time that to try everything. Um, to try everything. Put them in all CAP classes, which is what we call our pre-AP classes. Put them all in CAP because what's the worst thing that could happen? You're trying to see what their potential is, right? And so um, there was a student one time that the parent spoke to me and was like, I don't think that's right that you try to put him in this or that. And I'm like, well, he scored masters on his math and his English. And what makes you, well, I don't want him to have to do all the homework and all this. But do you want him to be challenged? Because right now, this is the time to be challenged. When it doesn't count towards a credit, when it doesn't count towards GPA, now's the time to try. There is no GPA in junior high, right? There's no GPA in junior high. Try it. And she reluctantly allowed him to stay in those courses. And I'll never forget at our 8th grade awards banquet, he was getting an award and she came up to me and she goes, I will never forget the when you spoke to us incoming 6th grade parents during their 5th grade year and how I thought you were crazy for trying to push us into something that we may not be ready to do. But my kid's getting an award and I really appreciate that you took the time to encourage us and tell us that it's going to be okay and let us know what's going to happen, and what could happen and what won't happen. And so to me that was a successful story. That student wound up going on to a different high school than where I'm at now. But my guess is that they did very well in that it just, you have to be able to see the possibilities. And that's, again, going back to the strength basing, that's part of my competitiveness is like, we can do this. I want to encourage you, we can do this. I promise you, you can do it. And if you can't, we're going to coach you up. We're going to make it happen to where you feel successful and it's a good thing. So to me, that was a success for sure. At the junior high when I was there.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story, and these are the kind of stories that make everything like worthwhile in education, and that's why we choose to be in
Yes.
this field.
Yes.
So my next question is, as you know, like with AI, the future of work is going to change significantly. So what role do you think effective pathways and career and technical education plays alongside traditional academics, and especially in creating equity along with other things?
Yeah, that's well, we are a one-to-one district, so we provide a Chromebook to every kid for them to use. And we will provide Wi-Fi access if they don't have the means to do that. So we try to keep everything equitable and that access right to those things. In terms of work is going to change. It definitely is. I mean, it already has. There are majors in college that never even existed when I was in college. Because things just evolve, right? And so part of that is trying to get our teachers to understand you also have to evolve in your practices and how you approach things and, not to be afraid of, AI. You want to, the bottom line is whether our teachers believe in AI or believe that they should be using it or not using it, or the kids should be using it or not using it, you know, um, it's going to be there and our kids are going to be using it in some capacity in whatever job that they're going to have. And so we've got to shift our minds to how what are what are our procedures going to be surrounding that in terms of cheating, in terms of, and some of this is a district level thing because we typically in our district are pretty uniform in terms of like the discipline code of conduct and things like that, right? But as a campus, I don't I like for people and teachers to take risks with things. It's okay to take a risk and fail with it. Again, nobody died. If it didn't work, it didn't work. That's okay. Nothing that's worth anything that we've got in our lives, cell phones, anything, knocked it out of the park the first time, it's always getting better, right? And so trying to get our teachers to understand that to go, it's okay to fall flat on your face to try this lesson with technology or try this or try that or try AI to help you with this. Try it. If you don't like it, go back to the drawing table. That's what anything that's been made in that we use, that we do is is about trial and error. And so really showing them that it's okay to take those risks. And I would expect them to take those risks to be better, you know. And so with AI, you know, like I said before, some of our teachers are using it a lot, you know, and they've embraced it and they're not fighting it and they're trying to figure out how can I use this and show the students how to use it ethically and you know, to help be a thought partner, not necessarily a doer for them. I think that's where it's some teachers that don't understand technology can't get past that, you know, and so it's again a level of a understanding of how technology works and what the possibilities are. And if you don't have a concept of that, it's really hard. It's easy to be afraid of what you don't understand or what you don't know, right? And so that's why I was talking earlier about that survey that I sent out about their knowledge of different platforms and things like that to prepare for our professional development when they come back, because that's what it's going to be focused on in productivity and how can you use it in your lessons and how can the students use it in their lessons. And we're just going to take little bites. Some people can take bigger bites than others, but I want to show you what the possibilities are so you're not afraid of that, right? Um, I think it's going to take leaders, though, that are going to also not be afraid of that and understand that world in some capacity to know that we've got to do something in the way of teaching our students how to use these things ethically, how to use them in the right way to save us time as well. You know, teachers complain that I don't have time to do this. I don't have time. You know, we have to differentiate. Well, now with AI, you can do that for 150 kids and individualize stuff based on data that you've taken from them. I mean, it's crazy. Like you could do it like that. And I mean, it still takes work to organize and decide, okay, what am I going to do? But to help you do the heavy lifting, there's no reason why you couldn't do that. You don't have to have it do everything for you, but let it do some of the heavy lifting. Your life will be, I mean, improved a million times over if you can do it in the right way and understand it. But again, it's going to take somebody that does it like I use it. I want to know everything I can about everything that's coming out, new things. You know, I'm on YouTube all the time learning stuff and looking at updates that are coming up, like Mike Tholson from Microsoft. You know, I subscribe to his YouTube channel, and when it pops up, I'm like, "Ooh, what's new in Copilot? What's new in this?" I'm just learning. That's what I want to do, right? But if they don't feel like they have that time, they've got to have some sort of understanding. So that's where we come in as administrators to go, look, here are the possibilities. I'm not saying you have to do this, but think about this. Make this as a small goal for yourself to just take little bites about it. You don't have to do the whole thing right away, but do little things and you're going to see that it's going to help you in your time management, in your work-life balance, in you know, helping students understand the world that they're about to go out into.
Yeah, that's such a motivational thought, and it's great to hear that you're at the forefront of technology and embracing all these wholeheartedly. Great. So before we take leave, let's have a lightning round. So what's one of a good book recommendation that you want to share with the readers?
I am a big Simon Sinek fan. Leaders Eat Last. I love that. Um, that is one of the books that has kind of really changed me, and his work with finding your why and the work that he's done with that. Really good stuff.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful book. Biggest myth about AI in K-12 education.
That every single kid is cheating all the time.
What skill are you most worried that today's students won't have tomorrow?
I think relationship building, being able to talk to other people. There's a lot of this going on.
Makes sense. One piece of advice you would give a first year principal that nobody told you.
Oh man, that's a good one. I'm gonna say you don't have to know everything. I mean, you don't have to. There's no training that you go through that you're like, okay, here's the first year principal training. Here's how you be a principal. There's no training for that. Always be asking questions. Find the person, your mentor, somebody that you're able to go to, and always ask. You don't have to know everything.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stone. It was wonderful talking to you. And
Yes.
I'm sure our listeners will really enjoy this conversation. So,
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
thank you. Have a story, question, or insight from your own classroom or campus? We would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in to the Magna AI podcast. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube and learn more at magnaeducation.ai. Because when we support teachers with the right tools, we unlock what's possible for every learner.